of a really simple workflow automation. So the first step one would be a trigger. So this trigger in this example is a new Facebook lead. So once a new Facebook lead comes in and is triggered, it'll automatically send a follow-up email through Gmail. And then you can also set it up for Slack to notify your team. So that's just like a really easy, simple task that can save you a lot of time. One of our core values is to build the robot, not be the robot. So anything that's really, really simple, we feel like you can automate it just to make your work easier. So Zapier saves users an average of 10 hours a week doing tasks like this. Some of our clients say that, you know, it's just like having a part-time worker doing all these small things for you. I always like to share one of my favorite Zaps, which is also really, really simple, but a lot of people on my team use it. It's basically just setting up a reminder to pop up anytime you have a meeting. So about 5 minutes before your meeting, a reminder will pop up and it'll automatically populate the Zoom link for your meeting. So you don't have to go to your calendar and like look around for it. You don't have to go to your email. It's just a really simple way. And then also you can have it send you a Slack reminder and say, hey, you have a meeting in 1 minute or something like that. So yeah, any easy task we can automate for you. So our app ecosystem. We have over 4,000 apps on our platform, and there's billions of ways for you to connect the software you're using every single day. So again, some more common apps are listed here. You can star an email in Gmail, and Zapier will add that email to Trello, which is like a project management application. You can draft a tweet in Slack, and then Zapier can actually publish the final version for you on Twitter. You can, again, get a new lead from different sources. One example is Facebook, like I said earlier, and then Zapier can add that to your CRM, such as Salesforce. So the whole thought process is, you know, we want to make work easier for you. If you want to work in Gmail all day, or if you want to work in Slack all day, you can set up Zaps to do just that. Awesome. So diversity at Zapier. So at Zapier, we believe that hiring and fostering a diverse team is just the right thing to do. Diverse teams are more creative, build better products, make better decisions, and make for a more successful company. Teams that are diverse are better able to represent the global community at large. So some ways that we support diversity and inclusion at Zapier is recently we've developed a DIBE, which is Diversity, Inclusion, Belonging, and Equity course for everyone. So it's a 4-part training series that builds skills and shared understandings on identity, equity, implicit bias, and allyship. We also have employee resource groups. So we have 3 ERGs. We have one called PRISM for the LGBTQIA community. We have a Women of Zapier, and we have a BIPOC community of Zapier. And so wanted to get a little bit more into hiring at Zapier. So on this slide, I focused on 3 roles that we're currently hiring for, and we specifically do want to hire internationally. Again, we can hire pretty much anywhere. There's a few countries we can't hire in, but most countries we can hire in. So here are 3 that we're looking for right now. We have a senior compensation partner role, and also I can post the links to these in the chat as well. We have a customer champion role, and we have a senior engineer backend role. And these are just 3 that we are really looking for right now. But with that being said, we have tons of jobs that are open. So if you visit our job board, again, we can post that link in the chat. You'll see all of our roles. We have engineering, product, insights and design, accounting and finance, marketing, operations, and support. And one thing I did want to call out today is, I'm not sure if everyone has seen just like a lot of recent layoffs that have been going on in the tech industry, or maybe like startup world. Our CEO, Wade, has actually came out and said that, you know, we are still going full steam ahead. We have a 3-year plan to almost double in size. So we are hiring. We do not see any like layoffs or setbacks or hiring freezes or anything like that coming anytime soon. So I really encourage you, like if you're interested in any of our open positions, to definitely apply. Let's see. And then before I go into the benefits, I did want to say that we do have a unique hiring process. So we actually don't require a resume or a CV. We do accept them. But if you go and click on a job that you're interested in, you'll actually see questions that you can answer that'll tell us why you're a good fit for the job. So for example, if you're a recruiter, we may ask you like, hey, can you go look at this role and tell us 5 questions you might ask a potential candidate? So we'll ask you relevant questions to that job you're applying for, because we know that sometimes there can just be bias when you're looking at resumes, or sometimes you just don't get the full picture of who an individual is. And so that's why we take, like a different approach when it comes to hiring. And so some of our benefits at Zapier. So at the top, you can see I did post our Glassdoor ratings. We have a 4.6, and most people would recommend to a friend, and most people do approve of our CEO. But again, you can work from anywhere. We've been fully remote, and we have been for 10 plus years. And I do like to say that we're not only remote first, but we are remote friendly. So anybody that works here can really attest that, our remote culture is set up to be really autonomous and, really allow you to feel comfortable working on different time zones than other employees. So we have unlimited vacation, and I know that can sometimes be like a buzzword, but Zapier actually actively encourages us to take at least 2 weeks off. So 2 weeks off is like a minimum, but vacation is unlimited. We have a learning and development stipend. So that means that you can continue upskilling yourself. You can go to different conferences or take courses or anything that you want to spend that money on, you can do that. We have a PI program, which means Path into Engineering. So if you work in support or recruiting or marketing, and you are interested in, learning more about engineering, becoming a back-end engineer, front-end engineer, we actually have a program where it'll take a full year, and we will actually train you on how to become an engineer. And then we would have, eventually a position for you to be an engineer at Zapier. We do have a profit sharing plan. So when the company wins, we all win. So when we perform really, really well, we love to give back to our employees. We have 2 annual retreats every single year. We actually just had our first one since the pandemic has happened in San Diego, California at the beginning of May, which was awesome. And we also have an office stipend. So again, we know everybody is working from home. And so we want you to be comfortable at home, and we want you to have all the tools and things that you need to, work comfortably from home. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, so that is actually it. So I would love to answer any questions that anybody has. I don't know if there were any in the chat, I couldn't see it, but yeah, happy to answer anything.
Thank you so much, Auriel. That was brilliant. There's some really, really exciting stuff in there, and you'll see in the chat that there are really, really fascinating programs on the Zapier website. And now I've corrected my pronunciation as Zapier. So thank you for that. Rhymes with happier. That's easy to remember. So yeah, there's loads of stuff about the culture, about what it's like to work in a remote office, and we were featuring some of the employees. Rita and Auriel shared some of the stories of some of the Zapier employees, and really what they're saying about their work and about how they love connecting with the people at Zapier. That really stuck out, and it's fantastic to see. And obviously all those programs and all the recommendations and the ratings, they really are a testament to that. I got a question here from Neve. Can you explain what's a compensation partner based on what you were talking about, Auriel?
Yeah, of course. So a compensation partner is somebody that would provide compensation recommendations, advice, and analysis to our people team. So you would just like manage day-to-day compensation inquiries and requests. You would communicate and administer the base pay and just pay plans to Zapier. And then you would also basically make sure that our compensation is up to date. So with the market, looking at the market, making sure that we're paying our employees equitably and fairly, and everybody is, in the same band that they're supposed to be in across the board. And when we open up new positions, making sure that we have a salary that is in alignment with the market, and then communicating that to our people team, which is like our recruiters and hiring managers.
Great. And keep the questions coming. We have a question from Chidi, actually explicitly about the hiring process. So maybe the recruitment process. Auriel, if you could share, what's the sort of A to Z, what's the very starting point, how does it progress through the different stages, and what would an applicant experience as they go through?
Yeah, of course. So the first step in the process, of course, will be to apply for a job on our website. There you can attach your resume, you don't have to, again, and then I do encourage you to answer the questions that are listed for that job. Once you do that, we do have a commitment to review all applications that come in and get back to you within 7 days. So you will, throughout your entire process, if you are selected to go through the interview process, you will hear from us at least once a week. It never will be longer than that. So after, you apply, the first step would be a recruiter screen. And then after the recruiter screen, there would be an interview with the hiring manager. After that, there would be like a job fit interview with someone on the team to make sure that, just to talk more in detail about the actual job that you're applying for. And then depending on the department it is, there may be a take-home test included in that. And specifically for engineering, we do have take-home tests. And then after that, there will be a final interview with the director of that department.
Okay, good stuff. That's great. So let's go through those and maybe tease out a little bit of what it would feel like for a lot of people here and in our community. They would be remote employees working with remote companies, working with remote friendly companies, and they would understand that process and they would understand, what it is like to work in remote teams. But we do have a lot of people who have never worked remotely as well. So it would be useful maybe to maybe just go through at the first step being a recruiter screen interview. So can you tell us, what does that feel like? Are you on Zoom? Are you on a phone call? Or what is that exactly?
Yeah, of course. So with the recruiter screen, we actually allow you to pick which one you feel most comfortable with. We know sometimes there's Zoom fatigue, or you may not want to be on camera for your first interview. And so you have the option to pick either a direct phone call with the recruiter, or you can pick a Zoom call. Our recruiters are happy to do either one. And, it would that call would be learning more about who you are as a person, learning more about your prior experience, and also, asking what is interesting you in working at Zapier.
Cool. And how long would those screen calls usually last? Is it 5 minutes, 40 minutes?
Yeah, so the first call is usually 20 to 30 minutes. The second call with the hiring manager is a bit longer, usually 45 minutes to 1 hour, depending on the manager.
Yeah, and then that would be more maybe intensive conversation, more interview questions, this sort of typical kind of interview scenario, maybe competency-based questions, or how do you guys usually do those?
Yeah, definitely. So definitely competency-based questions, everything that would be more specific about your actual role that you're applying for. And then when you get to that final interview, we're really just looking for our values. So just wanted to share some of our values. The first one is default to action. And Donald, I know you spoke about, how does it feel working at a remote company? And I feel like our values really share kind of how that feels. So the first one is default to action. So that means, we try to provide you with everything that you may need online. So we have so many different tools, Coda. We have an internal tool called Async that we can all post in. Of course, Slack, just different project management tools that we use to share information with everyone. And so we try to have everything you would need to answer to already available for you. And so we really encourage our employees to just default to action and then ask questions later. Our second value is default to transparency. So we really value being transparent. And I can say that, working here, I've never worked at a company that is so transparent. We can actually log on to one of our platforms and you can see our financial situation. Like you can see how many monthly users we currently have. You can see our total number that we're making each month, and they share those numbers with us, which is really awesome. Our third value is growing through feedback. So we do encourage feedback. Actually, during your onboarding sessions, our CEO Wade, he actually hosts a session called Growing Through Feedback, and he teaches you how to give feedback. Our fourth value is empathy, no ego. So we do strive to be very empathetic. And I feel like that's important when you're working remotely because, just to be understanding of everyone's different situations and, different living situations and things like that. And then the fifth one is one I mentioned earlier. It's don't be a robot, but build the robot.
Brilliant. Love that. And I think there's so much even to explore in that, and good to even see Rita speaking about her favorite value there. Maybe we'll come back to you, Rita, just to talk about that in a second, because even talking about the culture, like what is it to live these? We all know it's easy to put them on the website and talk about them, so even getting a good sense of that would be brilliant. Ronan has asked about skill sets needed. So obviously you have particular roles up there, and we've posted in there about the link that you can see every single role. So we'll post that again just throughout so people don't miss it. But Ronan has a question about the kind of skill set desired to work at Zapier, and maybe that job fit criteria, what type of person. So Ronan is a teacher, but potentially looking at a career change. So do the people in Zapier come from different backgrounds, or is it usually from a specific educational background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will say that is another reason why we don't require resumes, because we don't want to automatically judge you based off of your past experience. That's why we ask those questions on the application, and we see how you answer them to see if you may be a good fit for the job. And I see that you said that you're a teacher, and specifically on our people team, I can think of on the top of my head, at least 5 people who have come from teaching, whether they were a teacher or they were like in, management in schools. They have made the career switch over to teaching. They actually worked for a company called Teach for America. So it's definitely possible. I would just find a role that maybe fits, the skill set that you bring to the table. And if you notice on our job applications, it'll say, here's what you'll do on a day-to-day basis. Is this something that you'd be interested in? It doesn't necessarily recommend that you need to have X, Y, and Z skill. It's more about, this is what you're going to do every day. Do you think you can do that?
Yeah, brilliant. Great advice. And on that, Chidi has asked, what if my skills qualified me to apply for 2 job roles? Can I apply for the 2? Is it recommended that he applies for 2? Or should he hedge his bets in one and go for a strong application? Or what do you suggest?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely apply for both roles. That again happened to somebody on my team. They applied to one role, they didn't get it, and they applied to another one and they got that one. They were just a better fit for that other role. So I definitely encourage you to apply to both of the roles that you see open. And I also encourage people to reach out to, recruiters on LinkedIn. If you see somebody with the recruiter title that works for Zapier or LinkedIn, all of us are usually more than happy to respond and point you in the right direction of somebody that can help out or, just give you some advice on applying to that role. And I did see an earlier question on the job page where there are some roles that say general interest form. So that is something new that we just rolled out. It's basically if you work in recruiting, for example, and you don't see a role listed that fits your skills right now, you can sign up for this general interest form. And every time we have a new role that opens in recruiting or in whatever, interest form you fill out, we'll actually email you and say, hey, we just had a new role open up in engineering, or we just had a new role open up in recruiting. Is this something that you'll be interested in? So that is also another great way to just stay in touch. Even if you don't see anything right now, I definitely encourage you to sign up for those interest forms and just get your name and, your profile into our database.
That's, yeah, good. And that's kind of what I was thinking. Maybe if you show an interest that you want to work with Zapier and you're willing to apply for one or two different jobs, but the general interest form is actually kind of solving that because you actually request information about the roles coming up. So maybe that's a good option for people. I'm not sure if there's a link directly to that can be sent, but keep an eye on the chat. You'll probably see it soon. I got a question from Graham. How many Zapians, did I get that right? He asked. Are there in Ireland and Northern Ireland? And actually, it'd be good to get a sense because we have quite an international group here. Where do Zapians reside? Like, where are they working for? Where's your teams based?
Rita, I'll let you take that first part.
Cool. I'll bring Rita in.
So it's a fun fact here about Zapier in Ireland. We have 3 people working from Ireland, 3 people working from Mullingar, and 3 of us, we are all Brazilians. So Zapier has this commitment for diversity, and you can see that is totally true. So we're a very diverse group here in Ireland, and we are looking to get a lot more of people of all different nationalities that live here. And we also have 2 people in Northern Ireland at the moment, yes.
And I wanted to say that Rita's quite active over on our online community in Slack. So I know that she'll be very happy to take questions if anybody has them. We've posted the link to join our Slack group, which connects you to thousands of remote workers, loads of different companies and recruiters from different companies. So it's a good place to be. It's totally free. We just ask that you contribute, you get involved, and you support other people in there. So we will share that link again. Feel free to join. And then we'll say hello when we get in, and you'll find Rita pretty easy. Just type in her name. Good stuff. And yeah, so sorry, come back to you. Which one of you wants to let us know where like the teams are? How international are you? How many are in America? How many outside of America? Over to you guys.
Yeah, I would say majority of our employee base is in the United States. We have grown to over 600 people. So I would say about 400 are in the US and probably about 200 are outside of the US. So that means Canada, the UK, Australia, we're hiring a lot in right now. And yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much. Keep the questions coming, guys. There was a question here I wanted to come to. I'll just go back up. We would like to hear more about maybe, is this the remote onboarding? Oh yeah. So I'll go back up. That question where we had an interview with a take-home test, especially for engineers. What would a take-home test look like, especially if it's, if it's remote? Do you get it ahead of time, or do you have to do it online live with people waiting for you? How does that go, Auriel?
Yeah, so you do get it ahead of time, and there's no like time requirement on how quickly you have to finish it. We understand you maybe have another job or life commitments where you can't do it, super fast. So basically you would receive a take-home test, and it's usually relevant to your job. So it'll ask you to maybe code a certain project in, like Python. Our backend engineers use Python, or if it's a front end, you may be using like TypeScript or Java. So it'll be relevant to the job you're applying for, in the languages that we use.
Great. We had a question from Manash about Zapier's market share and basically how active it is. Rita said Zapier has a large customer based outside the US. Do you guys know how active your customers are in Asia? How many markets you're in Asia or different parts of the world?
I honestly am not exactly sure on that. So I would love to, talk with my team and maybe provide you a correct answer after the presentation. Cool. And Rita, I don't know if you maybe know.
Yeah, no, we do have a great presence. Like I don't have the numbers, but our international part, like our international customers are a large part of Zapier. At the moment, we have a base in the US, and this is where it focused, but Asia is like one point that Zapier will develop in the future, maybe in an internationalization project. Yeah.
Brilliant. And probably the the best thing about this is that people can just access you through the Grow Remote online community and just find you on Slack, Rita, and then I'm sure you'll be happy. I know you're very good to getting back to me, so I'm sure you'll be happy to answer some questions over there. So please do join, and you'll find Rita and Auriel as well.
But in terms of employees, we do have loads in Asia. So we have a very strong APAC team that is serving this part of the world. So we wouldn't be a problem when applying for roles.
Good stuff. Got a question from Babatunde. What's the full meaning of Namer? Namer. I saw that written on some of the roles. What does that stand for, guys?
Yeah, so that stands for North America. So that would be Canada, United States, and Mexico.
Cool, brilliant. And yeah, we were just talking, and because of the Zapier employee base in Mullingar, I'd say we'll be doing some offline events sometime soon. So if anybody is near Mullingar, I'm sure you'll be invited. We'll celebrate together. In some place we'll go to get drinks or get some food or just get a coffee. But we'll share that info maybe next month or whatever it is. We'll have a chat, and then you can actually come and meet Rita in person. And that's kind of the magic of the Grow Remote community, is you never know who you're going to meet up with. So even if you're not near Mullingar, you might be near some of our other chapters who have events. So please do check out those events. We'll post the events page, and you never know, you'll meet someone from a company that sounds amazing. But yeah, Mullingar is where Zapier is at. So there's some more things Graham's posting there. There's some really, really cool links that are on the Zapier website. Manash, no problem. That's cool. So I've got a question for you guys. Could you tell us a little bit about, go in depth, maybe I'll bring you in here, Rita, about your favorite sort of value and what the culture actually means to a Zapian? I mean, what does it mean, empathy, no ego? How does that manifest in your daily meetings or in how you work?
I can say we're very happy to talk about the values at Zapier because we live them every single day. There's no person at Zapier that is not a part of the values. It's like our CEOs use the same values as our entry-level colleagues. So what is my favorite one is the empathy, no ego, as because you get to share your perspectives about the product, about the process with your managers, your directors, and even with the CEO. We have this two-way feedback in all the decisions, and is no ego when you're discussing your projects, or when you're discussing your compensation or discussing your career path. Everybody's there to make the company grow and to bring value to people. So this is what I most like about Zapier, is that we can really see those values being applied in the day-to-day.
That's brilliant. And everybody is collectively building the culture. I suppose that's what it boils down to. Just want to bring in, Auriel was mentioning that you guys have you're invested in the company. Maybe you can clarify that you have some kind of stake in the company. So if the company does well, you do well. Can you let us know a little bit more about that and what that means with the culture and also how you work?
Yeah, definitely. So historically it was called profit sharing. However, we are changing it to be called like a bonus program. But basically, if we hit our target numbers for the year, you will receive either 15 to 20% bonus based on how well Zapier performs. So you would receive this bonus twice a year, like in June and in December. And if we don't hit our targets, you'll still receive like a bonus. It may just not be the full 15%, maybe a little bit lower. But for the last 10 years, we've always hit our targets. And so everybody's always received that bonus, sometimes going above 15% all the way up to 20%.
Nice. That's a good incentive as well. And I suppose when you have people who are invested, it helps them to really connect with what you're building together, and gives people ownership over that culture as well as the work. But you know, the culture is so important in creating that productivity and in feeding that energy that creates good work. So maybe just let us know. Got a question here come through on my messages there. What is the experience of a new recruit? So someone who gets through the interview process and gets into the onboarding. So what would like the first week feel like? What would the first month feel like? Is there a lot of support, or are you expected to jump in the deep end? What type of experience would you expect?
Yeah, so there is so much support for new Zapians. Honestly, like my onboarding experience personally at this company has been the best by far of any company I've ever worked for. I felt like I got so much time to focus specifically on onboarding. And you can tell that this company was a company that's pretty much always been remote and wasn't, just going remote after the pandemic, because it seemed like they had everything figured out. So for example, your first week, you are with your onboarding cohort, so with other people that started the same day as you, and you all are pretty much going through everything together. So you have different sessions that are teaching you about Zapier. They're teaching you just about our culture. For example, we have that grow through feedback session with the CEO. You learn how to actually use Zapier, the tool, how to build your own Zaps. And so for your first 2 weeks, you don't even meet, or you meet your team that you'll be working on, but you don't even really do any work that's focused on like the role that you were hired for. The first 2 weeks are solely spent onboarding. And then even that third and fourth week, you're still doing a little bit of onboarding, but you'll start meeting more with your actual team, and you're not actually expected to like do any work for your actual team until like after a month in.
That sounds generous, but I'm sure people are hard workers by the time they get there.
Yeah.
That's great. And another question here: how do Zapier support remote teams with their well-being? Because we know it's a big part of the culture, and your website it's all over there, trying to support people who maybe are suffering from isolation, or just in general, how do you work well with your colleagues when you don't see them because they might be in a different time zone. So I'd love to bring Rita in there as well, because I know she told us about something they do every month, which is a good way to connect with people.
Yeah, we do have a monthly meetup budget that we can spend in person meetings if you live close by and other Zapians, or you can also spend this budget meeting colleagues across the organization that are not close to you. So we have a great budget that you can spend, and they don't check what is being with, so we can do whatever meal we want as long as it's inside your budget. So it's not really thinking on that. Also, another program that I think really likes you to connect. We have donut chats that you get a match. Like you can sign up for this if it's something that you like, and it can match you up with anyone in the organization. And even our CEOs are part of the donut. So you might get a match in a session with the CEO, and you can talk for 30 minutes about your life or your ambitions or how you love dogs and hate cats or something like that. Very controversial. Yeah, but you do. Zapier was my first fully remote role, and I never felt isolated. We have fan channels that you can connect with people with similar interests. The ERGs that Auriel mentioned are amazing. So they are our diversity group. So if you have if you're a member of any of the groups that we have, that women, the LGBTQA plus community, or the people of color, the BIPOC, you feel you have a family there. So you feel people that you can trust and share your struggles. And I think Auriel can also mention we have other programs to tackle wellness and well-being in terms of mental health. And I think she can touch on this part too.
Yeah. Yeah. So one that I always like to add that's like maybe not as traditional is during your first week, you're actually asked to complete something called a README. And so basically you can list out your working style, your working hours, how you like to receive feedback, when you prefer to have meetings. We also, Zapier pays for us to take the Berkman test, like the personality test that you can put in your README. And so that allows your manager and your teammates to learn a little bit more about you and, you know, understand how you like to receive feedback or when is the best time to meet with you. And I feel like that's so important because, you know, some people like to have focus times during their day. And, you know, sometimes when you work remotely, you can just have days and days full of meetings. And I feel like Zapier does a really, really good job of not only not having too many meetings, but also scheduling them for times that work best for people.
Brilliant. Well, speaking of scheduling and valuing people's time, it is coming up on 5:45. So that's the end time that we're gonna leave this evening. It's been brilliant to have Auriel and Rita from Zapier. As we said, you can connect with Rita over in the Grow Remote Online community. We'll share the link there just now before we finish. It's a simple Google form. If you're not there already, just sign in and it takes 1 minute and then you're in, and then Graham or myself or someone else from the Grow Remote community will say hello, and then you'll be able to connect. You can search for Rita's name immediately and ask more questions if you like. Jess, thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Stephanie, likewise. Yeah, brilliant. Laszlo, really, really great to have you along. I posted a little survey there. It takes 60 seconds, and that would really help us just for future events here at Grow Remote, especially the virtual events, just seeing, hearing your feedback on what you want out of these events and maybe how we can better help you on your remote journey. So thank you, Irene. Great to hear from you. Lovely to have you all. This will be made available on YouTube. If you want to go back to our YouTube channel, Grow Remote YouTube, we'll be able to share this there over the next few days. But it's 5:45 now and all my notifications are going off. So thank you so much, everybody. Any questions, of course, you can reach us on community@growremote.ie. Of course, we're always there to answer any questions you have. And thank you so much once more to Rita. Really brilliant to have you. Auriel, thank you for your presentation. We'll keep chatting. And thanks, everybody. Have a lovely evening / afternoon / morning. All the best.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Babatunde. Thanks, Anyum. Thanks, Jane.